Hello everybody, I am Robin Royston, the principal here at Lincoln Elementary, and we are hosting our annual LCAP feedback. So that's Local Control Accountability Plan. So what we do is we look to get feedback from all community stakeholders, so that's parents, students, staff. So today the focus is on getting feedback from our families. So thank you for being here. Again, just a few things we'll talk about. We're going to look at the dashboard data, which is all schools in California have different metrics that are looked at and reported out on the dashboard. We'll look at goals, actions, and then give you the opportunity to provide some feedback. Okay, so introduction to the LCAP and the LCFF. The LCAP is a 3-year cycle, so it's a 3-year plan, and it shows how we use local and federal funding to make sure that all students are growing in a variety of areas. And so we use the LCAP to set goals, plan actions, look at how we're budgeting things, and then at the end, or actually throughout, we progress monitor. So if we've set a goal and we say this is how we're going to achieve it, we have to report out on have we been successful, why or why not. Should we still continue spending money in this way, or should we reallocate our funds to better fit the needs of our students? And so when we write goals, like in our SIPSA plans, each of them is tied to a certain area, but basically we're looking to address these 8 things. So the difference between, how they're connected, the LCFF, California's Local Control Funding Formula, determines how schools, like what amounts of money schools get to ensure that students can be successful. The majority of the funding is dedicated to improving academic outcomes. And then we provide additional funding for our English learners population, our foster youth, and students living in poverty or having a socioeconomic disadvantage. The way that the LCAP is developed is it's intended to be a collaborative process. So like I said, we do get feedback from a variety of community members to be able to ensure that the needs of all are being met. So I can speak for myself. I actually am on the district LCAP team. And so there's a bunch of different site administrators, district administrators, parents, teachers. There's actually student representatives from the high schools. And we've all come together multiple times this year to look at the district LCAP and ensure that all of the funding that we're using is actually moving our implementation and effectiveness forward in each of our goal areas and through each of our actions within those goals. So just real quick to give you kind of big picture, bird's eye view, and then we'll come a little more granular and look at just Lincoln's information. So when you look at this graph, this is Madera Unified, this blue band, okay? The dark gray is Madera County, and then the light gray is the state. And so the reason why we're looking at all 3 of those things is to see, one, how do we compare within, where we are, our local, and then also within the state. So as a district, Madera Unified is at 91% socioeconomically disadvantaged, which you can see is a significantly higher percentage than the rest of the state or the county. We're sitting at about 28% English learner population within our district. We have a total of 5,600 English language learners. As you can see, also a higher percentage than both the county and the state. Students with disabilities, we're at 8% in Madera Unified. So we're actually lower than the majority of the county or the state in this regard. Homeless, 3%, that's pretty consistent across. And then foster youth, we're at about 1% of our population. This is the breakdown of the various ethnicities. So as you can see, the majority of our district is Hispanic. Okay. Some of the things, or everything, is tied to the California dashboard, which looks at, like I said, a variety of metrics. And so you're going to see these little rainbow dials. Red means we're low performing. and then you work all the way to blue, which is high performing. Obviously, you're gonna wanna live more in these green and blue bands. The reality is that as a district, we have some pockets of blue and green, but we have more yellow and orange than anything. Anything that is identified as red must be called out in your SIPSA as an area that has strategic goals, and you have to list how you're going to address each of those areas. So when you look at the district performance overall, so there's a few different indicators that the state looks at. One being like your culture and climate, so it looks at your suspension rates. So remember, Madera County or Madera Unified is the blue band, right? So we're fairly consistent with the state, but the county is less. We want that band to be in the green and the blue, right? Because this means we have less suspension. Red is a high rate of suspension. Our English learner progress, we're fairly consistent overall. We're in the orange band, which is better than red, but we still have a lot of room to improve, especially because that's such a significant population for us. College and career readiness, this is graduation rates. So we're in the green here. So we're doing, it's a area of strength. Chronic absenteeism, so any student who misses more than 10% of school, 10% of the school days is considered chronically absent. If kids aren't in school, then they cannot learn, hence why we want them to be here in school. So it is a very important metric that we also look at. So pretty consistent with both the county and the state. We're in the yellow band. And then over here, we're looking at English language arts and mathematics. So these are our achievement bands as measured by the CASP, which is the California State Assessment, starts being taken in 3rd grade. What you're really looking for is a 0 here. A 0 or a positive number, meaning you have a majority of students who are meeting or exceeding grade level. As a district, we showed growth here, so we're in the yellow. I think it's been a long time since the district was in the yellow in both ELA and math, which shows while we're not where we want to be, we are making progress towards those goals. Okay. So now we're going to look at Lincoln specifically. So hopefully you kind of know how to interact with those graphs. This is based on last year's data. So we had 842 students enrolled at the time. 78% of our population, so 656 students, are considered socioeconomically disadvantaged. We have a 15% English learner population, which lower than the county, but equal to the state. Again, the county, we're pretty consistent, but higher rate of socioeconomic disadvantage than the state does. So county, we're consistent. Students with disabilities, we're at 11%. We do have a special program here, so we do have numbers that look a little different than certain school sites here in Madera Unified. We have a 3% homeless rate, and same as our district, a 1% foster youth. Okay, and then a majority of our students here are also Hispanic, much like the district, so the trends in the district match Lincoln. So our performance on the California dashboard, so I wanted to make sure that I kind of gave you some context. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. So this is from last year, last school year, because they report out each year, right? So we're a year behind. We were in the orange this past year for chronic absenteeism, and unfortunately that is an area that we had a little bit of a slide. We were in the yellow the year before, and then we dropped about 2%, which took us to the orange. Our suspension rate actually went from orange to green, meaning that we lowered our rate of suspension last year, so that was a great improvement. Our English learner progress went from green to red. We had a significant decrease. We have something called the LP, which looks at the scale scores of how students are performing, and we just did not see the same level of growth in order to reclassify students. So this is a major concern and something that our site is going to work to address. And then our English language arts and mathematics actually were both in the yellow last year, and we've maintained yellow, which is something that I'm really proud of. Our staff has been working really hard. And it's going to take some time for us to get to the green, because now we've shown significant growth, but we have to start showing significant achievement. And so that's what we're looking to do in these next couple of years. Okay. So just to go in and kind of clarify what some of the LCAP goals are. So remember the school site council, which is made up of people here at Lincoln, we often go in and evaluate the effectiveness of our SIPSA or how we're using money. I always report out, there's 5 meetings a year, but the SIPSA is written based on our LCAP goals. So the site goals and the district goals are the same, they're aligned. So goal number 1 is assets-based multilingualism, which looks to support our English learners. These are a few of the, this is where like a lot of the money district-wide is being allocated. So we're looking at creating assets-oriented and student-responsive schools, supporting programs and practices that provide intellectual rigor and meaningful access, ensuring site-wide conditions to implement high quality of English learner programs. We have been doing site-based instructional coaching. We're expanding dual language schools. And then there's culture exchange opportunities. So there's been large groups of teachers and community members going to Oaxaca every summer. So that's something that our district is engaging in. We have 3 dual language schools now, and those continue to grow each year. We have 1 school that's all the way 7th grade, Madison, and then DLI at Washington is Heritage School, and then Pershing is a Strand School. So they continue to allocate money towards expanding that. At the district level, we've had a focus, at least in the elementary, on 4th and 5th grade. They've been pulled off sites to be thoroughly trained in the standards and then some of the strategies that are best used when delivering English language, designated instruction, and then integrated supports. So that's also been a costly endeavor. And then just ongoing professional development for administrators and those kinds of things. Okay, so that's goal 1, assets-based multilingualism. Goal 2, high-quality student engagement opportunities. So this is looking at like your CARD program. So they're trying to expand opportunities for students outside the school day. So that's some of the, it's not called VAPA anymore. It's called, it's the arts. So we're looking to, there we go. We're looking to expand and sustain the arts program. So that's outside of the school day, not just in the arts special. We're looking to create, we're doing the Pride program at the elementary level where we're looking at, incentivizing students trying new things and then having pride in those different areas. So that's been a new undertaking. And then again, there's like all the different winter academies, the summer academies, all of those things we have to staff. We bring in outside people. So we're really just looking to have students engage in more than just the traditional school experience of, reading, writing, math, those kinds of things. So this goes outside the day and hopefully taps into some of their interests, likes and interests. Goal 3, optimal learning environments. So this is looking at creating conditions for an environment of trust and support. So this is really investment in our staff. So everybody who's onboarded, and then starting a few years ago, we have a staff like student champion course. All staff is required to take. That's a couple different days. We have the TSM program, which makes sure that all brand new teachers have support through their first few years of teaching until they are able to get their credential. We are working on a career ladder that has us being competitive and has different options for people to take throughout. And then we also have invested heavily in our social, emotional, behavioral staff, which comes by way of student advocate, those kinds of supports that really help school sites be able to grow and function. So all of this to help, again, strengthen our staff's skills and understanding so that they can better be prepared for your children. This is continuing goal 3, optimal learning environments. Let's see. We're implementing programs and services to reduce suspension rates. We have textbooks and instructional materials that are helping with some of those social emotional pieces. And then we do provide grade level field trips to help students feel engaged as well. for maximizing student achievement, this is where in RSIP, so we've tied a lot of the funding to. There's TK, kids are coming younger and younger. So we're expanding the early childhood program and the services that are offered there. We offer parent education through the PRC, but also through school sites. They've changed the schedule, the master calendar at the middle and high school, so they have a 7-period day, so there's more opportunity for electives. The Madera Unified Graduate Profile, they just did their first senior showcase, which was fantastic. It gave all of our staff the opportunity to see what we're preparing students for. So it was really neat. It was a serious pride point for this Lincoln staff, for me too. It was really neat to see the kids and how well they did. Creating release and collaboration time for elementary teachers through the elementary, so that's our specials. So that's a pretty large chunk to ensure that teachers' collaboration is built right into the school day, which many high-performing countries, that is what that looks like. The development of the guaranteed and viable curriculum, so that's saying no matter who your child's teacher is, we're guaranteeing that they're going to learn at high levels. We have various supports for foster youth students, so that looks like student advocates and other programs. Maintaining and expanding ed services for students with disabilities, so that's looking to make sure that we're fully staffed, making sure we have also guaranteed and viable curriculum that's good for students, to make sure that they are learning at high levels. Continued maximizing student achievement. So we're going to look at both teaching and learning in ELA and math. So we have district coaches that are working with our school sites to ensure that everyone continues to learn and grow based on research and evidence. We provide full day kindergarten and para support, which is so important. We love our paras, we love our kindergarten teachers. Trying to pull out, I don't want to read all of them. Expanding, this is directly related to Lincoln. We are part of a solution tree project where we have been fortunate enough to be one of 6 schools who is receiving supports from a highly qualified individual. She's really helping move our school in the area of achievement. So as you can see, I mean, the money is allocated across, and so now our job is to make sure that it's actually effective. And the way we're going to know that is if the dashboard indicators go towards blue and green. That's really what or yellow if we're in the orange, right? High quality operational services. This is something that's kind of outside the school site. It's really how the district, it's about the buildings and safety. So translation services, so these are things that don't necessarily, they impact the school site, but we don't necessarily allocate funding. That's usually from a district-wide lens. So, things like transportation, supplemental supports, all of these things have a great impact, a positive impact on our school sites. Okay, so all of that, I don't know if I'll have any questions, but basically all of that to say, we want your feedback. All feedback is an opportunity to learn, and so we're just looking to get how do you think it's going? If you have children at Lincoln, TJ, and MHS, you can take an individual feedback survey that is directly tied to that school, because the needs for your child here at Lincoln might be different than what they are at Jefferson. So through Parent Square, you can find a link that has a drop down with your child's name, and then there's 5 questions. And you just be as honest as you can be, because with all of us working together, we can make sure that we have all of the appropriate supports in place. So with that is the LCAP feedback presentation. I look forward to questions.